could've walked and I'm blessed. See the love I got on my flex, I'm so blessed. 20K just on my chain, say less. Pop tags every day to get dressed, so blessed. Been through the storm and the rain, still blessed. Had a couple heartaches and pain, still blessed. Handle the pressure from fame, still blessed. God called my name, so blessed.
Yes, sir, I'm blessed, don't play boy, cause I got it mad. Tailor made just for this fit, I'm gon' cut the slack. I'm the man, good hearted shorty with me acting bad. Shout out to mans that done tightened up since they became a dad. Shout out to me.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cobain Report. I am Rock Cobain. This is
T-Mill.
Caesar's out of town still, but you know the vibes. Today, we have a very special, legendary, iconic guest. I'm going to let T-Mill get into it so we can get right into it and we won't waste your time.
So like Cobain said, we have a very special guest with us today, a radio icon representing FM 98, WJLB, and iHeartMedia. An actor. You may have seen him in the iconic movie 8 Mile or on T.I. and Tiny's The Family Hustle. A mental health advocate and a concert and comedy show host. Today he brings the Bushes to the Cobain Report. Everybody out there, put your hands together for the Bushman.
The legendary Bushman.
Thank you.
Yes,
You missed one, though. Now I'm on Mix 92.3 Detroit's R&B with Steve Harvey in the morning.
Got you.
I had to grow up. I could only be young and reckless for so long.
Yeah.
So now I'm grown.
Yeah, everybody who, like I said, you the soundtrack to everybody's like, we all grown now. We all 40, 35, 38.
Oh, my God.
And you raised a lot of us, like with your voice.
You're welcome.
Hey, look, for real, when they left you at home and you had the radio, he was your babysitter.
That's
He
right.
was there. No, man, I am so grateful to have you on the show. It's been a while coming. I started bugging you a while back because I just knew this was one of those interviews. I feel like the Cobain Report, we kind of stand on your shoulders. You not only are you a legend, but you look like me, you talk like me, and you know what I mean. From the same vibe as us.
I'm just like you, man.
Yeah.
I'm just a guy that happens to be on the radio, heard by millions. That's it. That's the only difference.
Literally millions, and I am one in the million. I told you a story off camera about kind of how I remember having a job, and I would run back to get back in the van from that job just so I could hear the top 8 at 8 and hear, all of those iconic moments that we can fall back to, when you're older and say, dog, I remember this. Music is literally the soundtrack to your life, so the radio, it parallels that,
Yeah.
T-Mill, go ahead, get into it. I know you got some heat for this one.
Most definitely, man. We're going to get it started with putting congratulations out there, on making the 29 years,
Thank you.
Yes, and so wanted to know, if you could let us know from the beginning, you know what I mean? How was, if you can remember the beginning of those 29 years, how did that get started?
Ooh. That started me driving from North Carolina on February the 11th or 12th through a snowstorm and blizzard in Ohio to pulling up in front of the Pontchartrain, parking my car, having a lightweight jacket on, and didn't realize what minus 30 wind chill meant. I thought I was naive and dumb, thought I'd just been in the car too long, and that's why my skin was burning. And then next day, my car not wanting to start.
Oh, my God.
To that
Welcome
Monday,
to
me
Detroit.
supposed to be going on the air on February the 13th, get to the station, and my boss, Steve Hegwood, how you doing, brother? Said, no, you can go back to the hotel. I'm like,
You thought it started before it even started.
yes. And then, he said he wanted to start me on a day that everybody can associate it with me. So we started on Valentine's Day. So when I first got on the air, people didn't know how to take me. I'm not from here. I'm different. Where's Trey Black at? Where's the Blacklist at? I went to schools. And, I'm going to tell you, first school I went to, after I left the school and went and did a shift and went back home, I cried. Because the kids told me, we don't know you. I don't like you. I was like, all right, but I played it cool. I played it off. I said, well, you're going to have to learn to like me because I'm here to stay.
Yeah.
But then when I went back got to the house, I'm just like, they don't like me. What I got to do something to make them like me. But it just took time.
Yeah.
For people to get used to me. Yeah. Trey was only here for a year, but I had to get people to get used to me. And then once I started going back out after a couple of months, You're all right now. I'm like, okay,
Detroit
cool.
is a tough city, though.
Yeah.
Detroit is a tough town when you're not from here.
Yeah.
So you're from...
Well, I'm originally from North Carolina, but I'm basically a Detroiter because I've been here longer than I was in North Carolina. So, yeah.
Yeah. When did you get here? What year was that for you?
1995.
You were how old?
You're
not gonna date yourself?
Don't nobody get your calculator out. That's cap.
He looked at the camera for that one, so you know the vibes on that one. No, man, but I can just imagine. I mean, you know, I moved to a few places myself, so sometimes it's a little scary when you just strike out there, you know, and it's just you and a job, and you just like, I'm about to lay it all out on the line, you know?
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Well, it was because I was working at a station in North Carolina. I had been there on that station for 8 years. I was very comfortable, but I just outgrew North Carolina. I outgrew where I was at. I felt in my heart and in my gut that I was destined for more.
Yeah.
And so I started applying for jobs. I literally actually wanted to live by the ocean. So I started applying jobs like in Virginia Beach and places like that. That was not happening because they were offering me less money and more work. Then I almost got a job in Providence, Rhode Island, which had been really cold. And then I applied for a job in Chicago at WGCI and got a nice rejection letter in the mail. And then
Their loss.
Yeah. So it was December 1994. I was in North Carolina. My boy Skip Dillett came home, and we went out to this place called Daryl's, grabbed some dinner or whatever. And he told me like there was an opening here in Detroit. I said, Detroit? It's close to Chicago. They ain't gonna want me. He said, dude, you should just apply. Just apply. I'm like, all right, man. So I applied. I didn't tell nobody I applied. I got a call.
Was it like a demo tape or something you had to drop back then, or was it?
Yeah. I had a demo tape. The demo had me rapping on it. had the roll call on it. I remember I did a rap over Craig Mack, Flavor in Your Ear, and it had the sample of the roll call and me talking to people on the phone, and and Steve Heckwood called me up, flew me in. He was going to put me on the air, then do an audition, but because I was under contract, he didn't want to do that. Put me back on a plane the same day, went back and called me the next day, made me an offer that I could not refuse.
I don't. Right.
And here I am.
Yeah, 30 years later. Roughly 30 years later.
Yeah. But let me tell you the story because we were talking about this before.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So, like I said, I got a rejection letter from WGCI in Chicago. And that guy, well, I have the utmost respect for Elroy Smith, was telling Steve, don't hire him. Hire him, one of my guys. Don't hire him. Steve's like, no, that's my guy. That's my guy. That's who I want. So I started here in February. Steve left to do his own thing in July. Got a new boss in middle of July. Elroy Smith from WGCI in Chicago called my new boss, asking could he speak to me. He wanted to bring me to GCI. My boss then said, absolutely not.
So is this like after he's heard your voice? Like what was the change of heart?
I think because I came in and made an impact.
Immediately.
Yeah. Where people were talking, things were happening, things were moving. See, I came from a background that was, I went to a HBCU, but the station I was on was kind of like a station that played hip hop, R&B, with a mix a little bit of pop in there. So to me, I knew how to touch all audiences. When I got there, everybody was doing everything in the city. I did stuff in the city, but I also was getting calls across 8 Mile.
Yes,
go
you
to
were.
Pontiac.
Yes, you were.
Going to Westland.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it. And I would go there. And I remember when Trick was doing music, and it was Goon Squad. And I said,
GSM.
dude, it was Booty Bounce was out. I said, dude, let me tell you, for real, you need to go outside the city. They're going to love you. So we did a show. I can't remember the name of the place. I still have the flyer, though, from that long ago. Yes, I do have it.
I believe you.
Yeah. And we went out there and we did that show. And from that point on, Trick thought bigger than he was thinking before then.
No, one thing. Go ahead.
No, I was about to say, speaking of, like you just mentioned, the photo that you, or the flyer that you still have, speaking of, I seen that you had posted a picture of you and Snoop, from back in the day, like of actual photo that you had, right?
Yeah.
Man, what kind of memories did that bring back for you?
Dog.
I showed Snoop that
crazy.
picture, and he's like, "What the hell were we on?" He's like, "You look like Cuz from De La Soul." I got a Jericho cap on, Michael Jackson gloves, 3 jackets, and he was, it brought back good memories, good times. Him just being in the studio and us just chopping it up. And, back then, it wasn't about. How I can say it was about making memories for people. People had to remember you. You had to be a person's top of mind.
Yeah,
that's how you got your ratings. Now it's about PPM, where people wear these little portable pagers, and it's about what you're exposed to. So it changes the dynamics of radio and how you do your shows. So actually, today it's harder to do a radio show than it was back then. Because you got to really be calculated. You got to think it out and still be entertaining.
Yeah, that's what that's his main thing when it comes down to the show. He's like, bro, we started out having fun, but now it's time to turn this thing up.
Like, you got to get serious with it. You got to you got to be calculating. And then if you get that moment, you better be ready to capture that moment and push that moment out there.
Speaking about,
go ahead.
Sorry, my bad.
Go ahead.
Speaking about moments that lose yourself in the moment. Let's talk about your connection with M.
Dude, so here's the, that movie was based loosely off his life.
Yeah. Loosely.
When I first got here, I would catch M in the lobby of the radio station when I'm coming in, and he would be talking to my boy DDT. And he would.
That's my dude.
Yeah,
DJ DDT. Yeah. Shout out.
And so, he would have demos and stuff for me to check out. And like, if you've done your research, he did like 2 rap promos for me, back in the day. I think the last one he did was in 96. No, one was in 96, and I think one was after that. And he would just be in the station. But like I said, I came from a background of a lot of diversity. So at the time, I was the only one that would really give him the time of the day, that I believe. And he might tell you that. Because I know that sometimes he will be on songs with people, and there would be some guys that would play the record, and then when it came to his verse, they would cut it off. But I never did that. I always try to give everybody a fair shot, and then I'll always try to be the guy that if I didn't like it, I'm going to tell you, dog, I didn't like it. I see where you're trying to go with it. And just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not a hit or a good record. It's just not for me, not my taste.
Bet you've had to deal with a lot of that being in the Music City, Motown.
Let me tell you, one of the most overwhelming things that happened to me back in 1995 was the amount of mixtapes that I got. And then the CDs.
Oh, that's that wave too. And then you went through thumb drives too. I bet you got that.
I went through thumb drives. And I even, And so if you're ever driving through West Virginia, well, it's been a while now, but there still might be there. You see a little glimmer of something on the side of a mountain. That one didn't make it.
No, dude. No, I know you have touched so many artists in the city, though. And it's like if you get a Bushman interview, that's a legendary interview. Like I told you earlier, I was doing my research on the internet. I'm like, let me do some research. Let me look at some interviews of him. I got you interviewing the world. But it's very rare that someone can get a interview with you. So we are grateful here at the Cobain Report.
When I think about it, there's probably one person outside of like TV interviews that came into the studio and I think interviewed me, but it might have been for a class project. The other interviews that I have done were with the BBC. And that was after 8 Mile. Dude, I'm going to tell you, that movie, when we did that movie, I've only watched it in its entirety once. Because it's weird.
Seeing yourself?
Well, it's weird where you seeing all the places that you were running up in and all these people. It's like us sitting here at this table going out and shooting a movie. You watching your friends, you watching. It's just weird, you know. I'll watch the rap battle over and over and over again, and that usually motivates me too. When I'm having one of those days where I'm just like, I'll go watch that, and then I go watch Lose Yourself video. But after that happened, and when the DVD dropped, BBC was crazy, man. It was overwhelming. They would come into town and want to do interviews, and then I'm like, all right, come on to the studio. No. We want to go on 8 Mile.
Yeah.
I'm like, dog, it's middle of winter.
We want to see.
You want to go on 8 Mile?
Real.
So shout out to Wendy's on 8 Mile.
Yeah,
because I did many interviews sitting in a booth eating on some chicken nuggets.
Yeah. What, you
talking
talking
to the
about the
BBC.
one on Van Dyke or the one on Gross Bay? Which one we talking about?
Van Dyke.
Yeah. That's the one. That's the one.
They were very nice to let me do my interviews in there.
Well, at this point, I think anybody would be happy for you to be able to come in and do anything because it's definitely going to bring, light or awareness to their establishment. At this point, you like Keith Lee, but the radio version. They go turn these clubs up. I remember hearing your promos. We was talking about those legendary nights. Talk about some of your legendary club nights here in the city, man. What are some of the craziest things that you can talk about legally?
Legally. Yeah, legally.
Legally.
I should have had this question prior to this sit down so that I could go to my legal counsel to see what I can legally say to you. St. Andrews was obviously probably one of the longest running crazy club nights. Yes. 10 years, I think we did 18 and up, 3 floors of fun, voted by Spin Magazine as the wildest club in America. And through those nights, so, like, if you ever talk to Don Q, ask him, does he have Hot in Here on his computer? He will probably tell you, oh, hell no.
He had to spend it that many times.
Well, I'm going to keep it 100. I used to live across the street, so I didn't have to drive.
Yeah.
So every Friday night, I had a bottle of liquor that was part of, I guess, my unwritten rider. And security knew all they had to do is when I left there, point me in the right direction. One night, he played Hot in Here, and I'm singing along to the song, and I had lost a lot of weight, so I was kind of feeling myself, right? And I just dropped my pants.
In the studio?
No, in the club.
In St. Andrews?
In St. Andrews, in the Bush Corner. I dropped my pants. I took my shirt off. Security runs into the office. Mike D, Bushman has taken off his clothes. What do you want to do? He's like, let him go.
Oh, my God.
So then it was a whole thing. So the next Friday, Don Q drops the record again.
Oh,
I'm not even sauced. But I'm like, he drops the record again. I do it again.
Oh,
The next
now
Friday,
you know from it.
Next Friday, he drops it. I do it, and then 2 other people do it. The next Friday, we had about 10 people do it.
You know it.
The next Friday, as soon as the song hit, the whole front of the bar right there in the corner just turned their heads the way to us, and we just, girls and guys.
Oh my God.
It was crazy.
Legendary moments.
Oh my God. It was wild. So he won't play that record.
Yeah.
No.
He's getting hot in here.
He won't play Hot in Here.
Talk to me about some of your influences growing up in North Carolina, man.
Influences there was not really any in North Carolina. Not really. I can't say. Like, when I went to college, I went to North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride.
Shout out.
Maybe my influences were the circle of people I was around. I used to hang out with a lot of people from New York, New Jersey, and that's why a lot of people like, you're originally from North Carolina, but you don't have a country accent. I never had one. But they maybe see a lot of different things in culture-wise. That's when I got into reggae and things like that, and go-go out of D.C. And so those things were kind of like, I think when I really started getting into all that stuff, that's one of the ways I kind of ended up outgrowing, feeling like being in North Carolina. Now, North Carolina is different now, but at the time, I needed something different to help me grow as a person and as a jock.
What did you want to be growing up? Sorry, Tim. I know you got one
good,
waiting.
good.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm hogging it. Growing up, what did you think you wanted to be?
An airline pilot. Don't know. It's that. I
wanted
knew
to be a firefighter, so bro, you good.
I wanted to be a pilot. So like when I fly now, I'm in first class. I feel like every once in a while you can see me like doing like this, like I'm flying the plane.
You missed your calling, bro.
No. I saved a lot of lives by becoming a DJ. I saved a lot of lives.
Go ahead, T-Mail. I know you got heat. Go ahead.
You mentioned something earlier about how difficult radio is now compared to, back in the day, right? And I noticed that you do something. I looked at other radio DJs and I didn't notice that they had the same thing. You got like a chat on your, social media, the Bush Show, I believe it is. And I noticed that you do a lot of like motivation and inspiration and uplifting, throughout your career, right? You've had like a lot of success in 29 years, like just building and seeing a lot of stuff. So I was wondering like, how did and where did the mental, part come in at where you started to have like those, like those days where you're like, man, even though you're doing all of this, like you still like, you get back to yourself and you're feeling different.
I think what happens is when you do a job that's like a high profile job, like, you see actors and singers and, performers and stuff like that crack, and everybody's thinking, oh, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? I think it's a lot of pressure to keep going.
It is.
I'm hungry. I want more. I'm fighting for more. There's things that I crave to do and I want to do, but then to have the time to do it, I don't. And so then I don't sleep well at night because I'm up thinking, how can I do this? How can I better utilize my time so that I can do all these different things and do this and then still have, self-care time. And so there's times that you get really down. You get down on yourself. But when you're on the air, you got to be all happy, smiles, giggles, and bubbly. And, and the trick on that is when you talk on a mic, you smile. When you're smiling, people can hear that. When you're not, they can hear that.
Hear that too.
So you do that, and then by the time you get off,
you're drained.
You're drained. You're whipped. And so sometimes people will see me out somewhere and I'm just sitting there and I'm quiet, not talking, not doing anything. It's because the switch is off. I'm mentally exhausted. Like I travel a lot overseas, and the reason I travel overseas is because if I'm overseas, I won't work. If I'm in the States and I'm on vacation, I'm still working. It's like we're doing this right now. And when I go home, I'll go finish up some yard work that I was working on before I came here, and then shower, sit down on the couch, watch, some final playoff games, and then I will sit there and set up social for the next day, for tomorrow, for the station. Every night I do that before I go to bed. And then I started reading at night to try to make me sleepy so that I do sleep. Now I'll sleep good for about 2 hours, and the rest of the time it starts and turns. So that all that messes with your mental.
Like a rest usually does it for you.
Yeah, like some people get to take a nap. I don't get to nap. And every once in a while, if I start having an anxiety attack, like I'll have them at work. Nobody knows it, but I'll have them at work. I literally will go into other room, which is completely dark. It's my secret cave that nobody knows about until right now. And I'll go in there and I literally will close my eyes and I'll do like deep breathing for like 5 minutes. And then I'll sit there another 5 minutes, just quiet. Just try to quiet the noise in my brain. And then I go back in the studio and I start right back up. So I started posting a lot of motivational quotes because whatever I'm posting is usually something that I'm feeling. And then it got real deep when I went out one day and I was somewhere doing something and somebody came up to me like, man, I really appreciate you posting that. I was really feeling it that day. And you just tapped right into what I was feeling. I was like, okay. And then, on the iHeart app, we have the talkback mic, and you can record yourself and send a message. And I think the next day, I got a message from a guy. He's in his car, and he's like, "Thank you," because I did an affirmation on the air about how I was feeling, and he was on the app crying, thanking me, because I tapped into something he was feeling. I was like, "Oh shit! Oh, can I cuss?"
No, yeah.
Okay. Oh shit! I said,
I'm never gonna tell Caesar don't cuss again. Bushman just cussed on the show. We good off up in here, bro. It's like, no, go ahead. That's what this button is for.
yeah. So I realized I'm touching somebody. No Diddy.
Oh my God. Legendary No Diddy right there. That was a free one too.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And we have been looking for a feature to put on my show. And so I was like, I'm gonna start doing this. And I just started doing it. And people started tapping in. And then I would go out more and more, and people were telling me, thank you for what you said on the radio today. Thank you for what you said on the radio. And then thank you for the post. People sliding in my DMs, man, thank you for this. Or commenting, sharing it on their stories. And I was just like, wow, this is heavy.
Yeah.
So then we made it a whole feature on the show. I start my show off with Real Talk with Bush. And usually it's something that I'm feeling. And I just feel like, I guess a lot of us are on the same wavelength.
Oh yeah.
I don't think anybody's mental health is 100%.
I agree. We all have. I think we all a step away from something.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For
We're
sure.
all a step away from breakdown something.
Yes.
And then, what I realized too is you got to watch the circle that you're in or that you keep. Because there's a lot of people in your circle who can't understand what you're going through. They can't comprehend that you feel some type of way. They don't know how to lift you up. And then there's always at least 1-2 people that will pull you down. They keep pulling you down. And that brings on that more stress, that more anxiety, that more depression. And it affects you. And so like every day, it's like a fight. It's like you're on PBC right now, pay-per-view. You're just fighting. You're just fighting to make it through that day. So every day when I wake up, I'm just trying to get through that day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lift you up even more. Like I seen an experience you had earlier this year. And it made me think like, man, this guy is a miracle. You know what I mean? Like you had like a brush with death, and it was even on the news. Like where a drunk driver.
You want the button? You want the button?
Same.
Yeah.
Okay. You got it. You got it.
Like it's coming towards you.
I just got goosies thinking about it.
Man, like I was reading that, and then I looked at the actual like story that that was reported on the news about it, and you sitting there in the studio talking about like the experience that you had with it, and I'm just sitting there like, man, like I think that this is, and after reading all of the motivation and stuff, I'm like, this is the calling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the calling.
You found it for sure.
Like you were spared. You know what I mean? To continue to like share your voice. You know what I mean? Like, but tell me, man, like if you can, like what was that experience like?
The crazy thing about that was I wouldn't have normally been out. But Sharon had something going on, and she needed me to cover for her at the club, at Opium. So I went and did Opium. And I think this weekend I had a lot of things going on, and I was exhausted, So it was one of those nights when I got done at 9. I usually stay, hang out. I just decided it was time for me to okay, there's a deer outside.
I know. I've been looking at it for the past 5 minutes.
So that's what you were staring at?
That's what. And the entire time I was really trying to focus on you, but I'm like, it's a real life deer right here. But go ahead.
Just let you know the deer's right there.
I swear.
Not to cut you off.
I was like, how can I sit here?
Did you notice it?
Yes, but I didn't know it was a deer, but I see something moving back
so
here,
I was on point.
Right, yeah. So first I thought it was a dog. I'm like, that's a big dog they got out here.
It was eating for 5 seconds. I'm like, bruh.
Yeah.
I gotta pay attention to Bush, but down, it's a real life deer. But go ahead, Chell.
All right. Whew.
Okay,
so anyway, I usually would stay later. But this particular night I was tired and I knew I had to get up the next day and go into work and do this and do that. So I left right at 9. And I'm taking my time, and whenever I'm coming down Telegraph, I usually ride the left lane. A lot of slow traffic in the middle lane, a lot of people turning or, merging over in the right-hand lane. And so, but this night, thank God, I just stayed in the middle lane, put the cruise control on, and I'm just driving. All of a sudden, I see these lights coming my way. And I was like, wow, maybe they got their brights on because it seems really close. And all of a sudden, as I'm about to cross this intersection, dude is just flying in the lane, halfway in the lane next to me, halfway on the grass. Now, the crazy thing is that person was driving straight, but then you start thinking about it after, I call 911, I pull over and I send a tweet out because I'm trying to get
People out the way.
people out the way. Somebody figuring, I tweeted and tagged all the people I know at Fox 2. Shout out to Jay Chowers. Because he didn't answer because he's probably asleep because he got to do the morning show.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just went away, and I just started thinking about it as I'm driving the rest of the way home. What if he had hit a rut, bump? Ooh. What if my headlight hit him in his left eye at this precise time and he lost control?
But God.
How would I have moved out of the way from him hitting me head on? And I started thinking about it. God saved me for a reason that night.
Yes.
There's a purpose for me being on this earth. And I have to answer that calling.
Yes.
Yep.
And I just kept thinking about it. And so then the next day I'm on the air and I think I talked about it. And then Tuesday, I tweeted out, because I had been on Google trying to search. I found 2 other wrong way drivers that happened that weekend, but I could not find this one. So then I tweeted it out, trying to figure out what happened. And actually I think Bloomfield Township Police Department responded back to my tweet. But before I could even see that response, I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize. But for some reason, I answered the phone. It was Jessica from Fox 2. She's like, hey, know that wrong way driver? Yeah, I got the story. I want you to be on. I'm like, okay, come on. Let's do it. So she came up there, and then as we're doing the story, she's telling me what happened. So, my legitimate reactions are me first hearing what happened.
Man.
Dude was drunk, twice the legal limit. Coming from Waterford.
Dude.
And I don't know what it is, that they can do as far as law enforcement and stuff like that to stop something like that. Cause like you just said, it was 2 other ones that same day. That's a every weekend thing, I think.
Yeah.
I done heard of people losing their mental health driving the wrong way though. You know what I mean? On purpose to try to, do this, what do they say? Disalive themselves on YouTube.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen crazy things like that. That mental health thing is real. I'm a social worker. So everything you were saying, you nailed it. When I tell you people go through this mental health thing that you would never think. That it's not a color, it's not a creed, it's not a race, it's not a wealth class. It's literally a mental thing.
Yeah.
The best people, like you said, stay up all night. They don't sleep because this drive for greatness, it pushes your brain. You stay up all night thinking of ways to critique whatever it is that you want to do, how to be better. Like you said, how can I maximize my 24 hours that I have in my day to be just as successful as somebody else that's didn't put in that work for those 24 hours, you know what I mean? And not looking at nobody else's paper, keeping your eyes on your own focus, but still, it's a way that they were able to maximize on them 24 hours. And it's something I'm doing wrong.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So,
man, dude, you don't know how bad some days I just want to talk to Steve Harvey to see how, he's got a team, you know what I'm saying, of people that help him. But people like him, people like Will Smith, who just seem to constantly be doing stuff. And granted, they got money. I don't have money. And they got a team. I don't have a team. I have myself. And because I've done stuff all by myself for so long, it's hard for me to let people in because I have an expectation. And I'll have to learn to limit my expectation. I did a affirmation this week where I was talking about our self-value. And nobody else is going to be able to compete with that self-value, you know? So basically saying, don't, you know, God, that deer is just distracting. He's over
he
here
still
now.
over there?
He was just over there and then ran that way. And then I was like, oh my God, I lose
We
my
might as
train
well
of thought.
get him on into the podcast.
Yeah. Go ahead and do your Christmas podcast now.
Right.
But basically saying that, because a lot of times, you know, you have certain people that will celebrate your achievements and celebrate your power and what you have accomplished, and then you have other people who don't. You know, but they love your work, but they don't. You know, so you got to celebrate yourself. You got to realize how powerful you can be, how powerful your voice can be, and that's one of the reasons I started doing the affirmations. And I'll tell you something, because I haven't talked about this. Last year, around March, a good friend of mine called me, and she was having an emotional breakdown. She had a bottle of pills sitting in front of her and alcohol, and she was going to kill herself. I talked to her for about an hour, calmed her down, made her realize your kids need you, and I stopped her from killing herself. And then the story got out that I did this, and then I received awards from Farmington Hills Police Department and the Southfield Police Department.
Dope.
But here's the scary part about receiving those awards. That's like, this is great. I feel good. I did something good. But what if now that I got these awards, something happens? I get a call. October, November, something like that. I can't remember when exactly. That she killed herself. She got drunk, had an argument, went into the bathroom, hung herself. Only if she had called me, I might have been able to. But then I had to start thinking about it from a positive point of view, as I gave her kids maybe an extra 6 months with her that they wouldn't have had.
Nice.
Mental health is so real. Anybody out there that's struggling or going through anything right now, reach out to your local shelters or whatever mental health phone numbers that are out there. I think it's like 611 or something like that, where you'll be able to find
I think 311.
311.
Yeah.
And so reach out to 311 if you feel, you know, any type of way. We don't want any of that going on. We love the community and we want you here with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna lighten it up a little bit. You know, like I seen also, and I didn't realize it growing up watching it with Beverly Hills Cop. You know, Eddie Murphy is rocking the WJLB T-shirt. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and
so
Beverly Hills Cop,
Yeah.
Axel Foley. Yeah.
You know, and so I'm like, you know, what is the significance? And I seen you actually, you know, posted about it, you know, and your excitement for it and everything. What is the connection, and like, how did you feel about seeing that in the movie?
Oh, I thought it was great. And obviously some other people did too, because I actually had found a website that was selling the swag, the merch.
That's crazy.
With coffee cups and everything. We had to shut that down.
Right.
Sure.
I'm like, yo, hold on. No. You can't do that. We don't use that logo anymore for the station. That's still our logo.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. What I also liked was, like, I don't remember us or at least not while I was there, having a yellow JLB shirt.
Oh, right.
So that was kind of
Dope.
sweet. Yeah. So the powers that be like, yeah, we need to do something with that. But,
So
I'm excited for this movie.
Right.
I've seen a little bit of it, and the rest of it I can't tell you about.
Okay.
Oh,
All
snap.
right.
a real icon.
July 3rd.
Yeah, oh God.
Beverly Hills Cop. You know,
So,
Eddie Murphy, that's the guy.
Netflix.
So look, before we
Netflix.
wrap this one up, I just want to know, right? You've interviewed so many people and touched so many lives. Can you give me like a top 3 of your interviews that you think that stands out to you in your 30-year career? 30-year.
Whoo. Well, obviously, Eminem.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we just got history.
Yeah.
You know, that's my boy. That's my dog. I love him for life. But you know, I got to do 2 lists.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a reason why. So my Detroit list.
Yes.
Eminem, Proof, Trick.
Got you.
And I got to put Royce in there too.
Yeah. Honorary mention.
Yes,
Yeah.
because these guys stood by me through thick and thin. You know, when they were going through whatever they were going through, they were always there. You know, Marshall still, if something happens and he's doing this and doing that, there's a subliminal way that we have of getting in contact with one another and making things happen. I might not even know that it's happening, but it happens. Proof, that guy, he would come to the station, I got an idea. He would grab DDT, they would go into the production room. 30 minutes later, come out, man, they done spit one of the hottest promos. And I'm like, dude, how can you outdo the last promo you just did? You know what I'm saying? Trick, me and this guy, we just go back like 4 flats on a Cadillac, okay? We've been through a lot. We've seen a lot. The brother's always been there for me. I've always been there for him, you know. That's my brother. Royce, we got the same birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Locked in.
Yeah, and anytime I've ever needed anything, he was always there. And he's a good guy. And I don't think Royce gets the just due he deserves. You know, he's a legend.
Yeah.
He definitely is. And that's before Slaughterhouse.
Yes,
Yeah,
way
sure.
before that.
Yeah.
Now on the national level, oh man, let's see. Neo. Me and Neo have this crazy relationship. Whenever I see him now, so there's a backstory. Okay. So
Jump into it.
So I always celebrate my station anniversary. Not like I used to, though. I used to throw these crazy, wild, invite-only parties at the
No Diddy.
hottest clubs. Yes,
No Diddy.
yeah, no
No
Diddy.
Diddy.
And there was no, hit the button. And when you seen, I wanted to hit it so bad. Okay, the phones were allowed at these parties. Okay, there was no NDAs at these parties.
Right.
This one particular party, though, Neo showed up. He came in. He had interviewed him earlier that day. He came to the party. Shout out to Chicago. Y'all don't know this, but the reason he didn't make it the next day was because of my party.
That's wild.
So now he rarely will do an interview with me. When I see him out, he just throw pins at me or whatever he got on the table. He'll just throw it at me as soon as he sees me. That's how we greet each other. So that's one of the classic ones. God, Waka Flocka. He came to the station and he was doing a show that night, and the next day was his birthday. So he forgot it was even his birthday. So I had some super duper research. Okay, I found out what liquor he likes. He liked that Remy. So I went and got him a fifth of Remy. But he also likes that light-skinned boy that's not necessarily legal in the States.
Oh.
But you know, what's Detroit?
You talking about that rhymes with Cobain?
You can get it. So I got that one in a paper bag. So when it came to the station, I said, and I got a little something else for you. I hit him with that. He was like, oh, the light-skinned boy.
We like the
Popped the cap. Did like that.
Yeah.
So the next time I seen him was in L.A. at BET. And him and his boys saw me. They just ran over to me, hugged. They didn't interview with me. They just ran over and hugged
They
me.
like, that's my dog.
That's my dog.
Yeah,
This my dog. This my dog right here.
Yeah.
So that's one of those memorable moments. Another national one. God, there's so many different people, man.
I seen you just shout out Chris Brown earlier this week.
Yeah, that's another story.
We talk about legal ones he could talk about.
Probably, you know what? Barack Obama.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's legendary.
Yeah. He shouted out my son when he was at U of M to make sure that that he could go register to vote.
Okay.
And I sent the audio to my son, and he was on the bus listening to it, and everybody turned around and looked at him like,
No,
president
for sure.
was talking to
president.
you.
he was running for president. He wasn't president yet.
Okay,
That's
that's
crazy.
still, that's dope.
Yeah, that's legendary. It's legendary sauce.
Definitely.
But there's other man. I've spoken to Bruce Willis. dude, I was doing an interview with him and didn't realize he was laying down when he was doing the interview. No diddy.
Yeah.
He was laying down, and when I got him, I wanted him to do a drop for me because when else am I talking to
For
Bruce
sure.
Willis? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so then he said, "Oh, let me sit up," and then he did the drop. And so that's how I knew he was laying down.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, you have had a legendary career for sure. We are thankful and grateful, and this is just scratching the surface of all the things that we could talk about with you. You know, we've talked about some
got
things
stories,
offline.
man.
I know.
I got
We're gonna have to
stories.
get you to come back and do a full,
I got stories.
full joint.
If we do that, we need to have somebody in here that's a director and writer, so that they can capture those moments, and then we can get this docu-series going. Because I got stories,
You
man.
do.
I have stories that I keep to myself.
I bet.
And I only share with what I call close friends, because there's things that I've seen and been privy to that I hold close to my chest.
Can we get a Bushman book in this mug?
The docuseries, like you
Can we
said,
get
it's
the
a
book
lot.
in this
It's
mug at least?
There has been talks. I've been asked many times to write a book.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about taking that plunge this fall.
Yeah.
When, weather gets cold
You
and
got that
cloudy
land
and
that you
gray
own.
here,
Yeah.
and I can just sit there and just type, or just voice,
Yeah.
just talk and just have it, the iPhone write it out for me.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
yeah.
Shout out chat. Yeah.
Shout out to y'all out there for all of your
Yeah.
professional needs. Anyway.
AI.
Right. We want to thank you for stopping by the Cobain Report, the legendary Bushman, the icon, it's so many words that probably I can't even think of right now.
A lifesaver.
I mean, yeah, the mental health advocate,
yes.
just the being that you are right now, and this light and this space that you're walking in right now,
Thank you.
It probably takes a lot of work to present that grounded. But we want to thank you for stopping by. I'm going to give you one round, let them know where to find you at. Of course, they already know where to find you at. But, this is your hard camera. Let them know where to find you at, all the things you have coming up.
Listen, you can find me on IG at Bushman on IG, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call that thing that we know that had a bird on it. That's Bushman on Air. And on Facebook, Bushman on Air or The Bushman Show. TikTok and Snapchat, which I'm barely on, but I will go on there sometimes, Bushman on Air. I do check my notifications. YouTube, Bushman on Air or The Bushman Show. I do post a lot of shorts, and they usually are pretty funny, of things that I've seen around the world. So holla at your boy.
Yeah.
And I do check my DMs.
Yeah. You seen the heart? You seen the pause? Did you see the pause for dramatic effect? No, bro. Go ahead, T-Man. What you got coming up? What's going on? Talk to him.
Just continue to shop with us. Help us bless the city. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube, the Cobain Report. We appreciate the legendary Bushman stopping through, bringing the bushes to the Cobain Report.
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Depending on when this airs and this pops out, be looking out for your boy, because I will be on an episode of Bar Rescue.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And I'm just going to say the chicken tasted like wood.
Oh, my
real
God. I
though.
just said to Keith Lee earlier, didn't I?
For real, though.
Bro, you probably, that's a whole nother career. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we're going to thank you guys for stopping by again. We want you guys to like, subscribe, and share. It's the Cobain Report. You never know who you're going to see on here. And as I always say, not that, but it's a wrap.